now by General Manager Horsemen's Park, Mike Newland. And Mike, a couple of years now you've gone to the five-week meet, gives the Nebraska Horsemen opportunities to run. I think you'll run over 60 races again this year. And some of the positives, really the weather this year and several other things, but what are some of the things you've kind of focused on as far as the positives from this year's meet?
Well, I think the biggest positive out of this year is the special events that we had. You know, opening day we had the Budweiser Clydesdales. We had over 11,000 people here. And then Family Day a couple weeks ago over Memorial Day weekend, we had the Camel and Ostrich races, and we had over 16,000 people here. So for this year, this would be a record attendance. With today's attendance, we're gonna break 66,000 people for Horsemen's Park meet, and that's big. Setting records for attendance here in Omaha is important. Having these racing days is very important for the people, the horsemen, and everyone that's involved in horse racing in Nebraska.
I think one advantage to some of the players that come out, maybe drive in from Grand Island, Columbus, even south through other parts. I think they haven't been here for a couple of years. They like the fact you've got things concreted out here. And the more days for the fan means it's a little bit leisure out here. When you just used to run one weekend or maybe 2 weekends, boy, it was hectic.
Yeah, I mean, and you were dealing with, when you have one weekend, you're dealing with weather. You get unlucky on one weekend, that's your whole weekend. At least this way we have 5 weekends. The key to getting involved in this business and liking this industry is getting to it the younger generation. You and I came to the track probably with our parents and saw racing for the first time. And if you think about it, Exarban's been gone since 1995. So we literally have a whole generation, the millennials, that really their first exposure to horse racing has probably been over the past few years that we've been running more live racing here. So that's important to recultivate the Omaha market. And we lost a generation when Exarban closed, and we're doing everything we can to get fans back involved in it. But it's tough. I mean, having the money for purses and things like that, it's difficult.
And, of course, to the folks out there, the novices, anytime you run through and place a wager and run it through Horsemen's Park or maybe in Lincoln or Grand Island or Columbus, does help the Nebraska Horsemen, again, trying to fund the purses, keep the industry going. Some of the obstacles, as you just mentioned, you've got to face here is a shrinking fan base. As you mentioned, a generation without a significant live racing days in Omaha. But you found out when you run Lincoln, you run a live meet, kids show up, people get involved, it's something to do.
Yeah, I mean, when I was down at Lincoln in 08 and 09, the last couple of years of State Fair Park, we were drawing a really young crowd on Friday nights, and we were averaging over 3,000 people every Friday night. So it's about getting out to the younger people and let them see what great sport this is, and what a beautiful thing it is to see a 120-pound human on top of a 1,200-pound animal and working together and this what great race, what a great industry racing is. Our challenges are many. I mean, especially for Horsemen's Park, and as you know, Horsemen's Park is kind of the fuel that drives the engine for Nebraska racing. So we have 4 casinos now. With the addition of the Carter Lake Casino, we have 4 casinos 10 minutes from our front door. And I don't know of any other racetrack or OTB in the country that has that kind of competition. And that competition is only going to get worse. As you know, sports betting has been approved in Iowa. They will probably have it before football season starts. And that's going to have a dramatic impact on us. And we're going to do everything we can to get another ballot initiative going. Hopefully we can get on the ballot in 2020 and finally change the old world ways in Nebraska and take advantage of casino gambling and gaming in general in our state and keep the money here in Nebraska. It's ridiculous to me that for 25 years we've been taking our money across the bridge for Nebraska residents. And when we have 5 racetracks here in Nebraska where we could have limited casinos just at those racetracks and benefit property taxes, education, roads. It only makes sense, and the people in Lincoln and our politicians and Governor Ricketts, they need to wake up and understand that this has been going on too long and it needs to be changed. We need to take it before the people and let them decide.
Easily sum that up. Let this become your one-stop shop. I mean, everybody in Nebraska, there's different forms of gambling. I mentioned that in the outset when we talked 5 weeks ago. If every state continues to, you didn't have it, fine, maybe, but let's go compete.
Every state that touches Nebraska has gambling. Every state that touches Nebraska has gambling.
Now, some of the other good parts about the live meet, what's some of the feedback from the horsemen? I know a lot of guys don't like shipping, moving around, but look at the opportunities you get here, especially for the guys with the Nebraska breds. Maybe horses don't quite fit somewhere. You will have over 60 races here for these guys and decent money.
Yeah, and if you look at our field size, I mean, our field size has been pretty good compared to Prairie Meadows and Canterbury. You know, we've done a good job of getting horses in. Danny Coughlin, Danny Boy's first year here, he's done a good job of getting horses in. We've been a little light on jockeys. Mondo Martinez got hurt. You mentioned that. We're going to be passing around the boot for him today. So we're a little light on the jockey colony, but horse-wise, we haven't done too bad. I mean, obviously, the Nebraska breed program, we don't have a lot of Nebraska breds, but I think this meet, coming off of the Fawner meet, the dates that we run now, we keep a lot of the Nebraska local guys around and keep them, you know, in the money for a while and until we get to Columbus and move on to Columbus.
When does a decision make, at least for the breeders and the horsemen, on allowing you or allowing horsemen to go ahead and run a 5-week meet? I know it all kind of boils down to how much is wagered throughout the year, but has there been good feedback, or what do you expect the horsemen, after you set back, crunch the numbers, and look at things, what's your early projection on what they may or may not do?
I think it's all going to depend on the impact that Iowa has on us. We typically don't make our decisions on what we're going to run for the next year until, you know, October, November. I think by then we'll have an idea how bad the Iowa sports betting is going to impact us, and we're going to have to base it off money. I mean, it takes money to run these races, so will we be able to run 9 next year? I hope so, but I don't think we can afford it. I don't think Nebraska HBPA can supplement purses at all these tracks and give us money to help us out running those days. So it's all going to, we'll know probably November. I hope we can run this many days. I think we'll keep this. Even if we can't run this many weekends, I think we'll keep this area of where we run in the spring. I think it's good. We have to deal with some weather, but we're going to try to do everything we can to run as many days as we can for the horsemen. But the Iowa sports betting will have a direct impact to that decision.
And one final question as we get down in the weeds on this thing is what it legislatively, let's hammer that down, what needs to happen, what has to happen to really kind of at least get Nebraska somewhat even close to operating on an even keel here on the same footing as the people in the states around us.
Yeah, legislatively nothing's going to happen. I mean, we have to take it into our own hands. We have to do a petition drive again. This time we got to get the petition drive done correctly and make sure all the signatures are valid, and we got to put it before the voters in 2020. And I'm confident that if it goes before the voters of Nebraska, this issue will pass with flying colors. So we need that to happen in 2020. It's going to be a tough haul until we get to that election to see if we can get casinos. But I would just tell people, you know, support Nebraska racing. If we get on the ballot, go out and cast your vote to keep the money in Nebraska.
Well, since you've been here at Horsemen's Parks, you've been able to do some other things other than just horse racing. You've had some bands. And you probably can't read this, but everybody's been out here seeing the Omaha Beer Fest koozies. So the people out there and listening in the cyber world and out in simulcast land, what is the Beer Fest? It's the 29th year. What happens at that event?
Well, Omaha Beer Fest is the largest craft beer festival in Nebraska, and about 3 years ago we took it over. We put it on our infield, which right now it's the only major event we have on the infield. And this year it's June 29th. You can go to omahabeerfest.com. We'll be running some commercials today on previous Beer Fest, but it's a craft beer festival where you buy a ticket for $35 advance, and you get to sample over 75 brews for free for 4 hours. And then we're going to have Lemon Fresh Day play that night at the after party. So for everybody that works here, we get about a 1 week break, kind of get rested a little bit. This has been a long meet. And then we head into Beer Fest, and then we have a car show in July. But things will start winding down in July for us. But Omaha Beer Fest is a major event. If you haven't been here, check us out on Facebook. Go to omahabeerfest.com. It's really a fun event. And with Lemon Fresh Day playing this year, it's going to be really cool.
Anything else we haven't touched on you want to highlight here before we get things rolling for the live card? I mean, you talk about stress on the whole crew you've got working here because they've worked long days and all those type of things. But anything else, any other events you've got going on after Beer Fest you want to maybe put in the back of the folks' mind out there?
Well, I would just say, follow us on Facebook. Check in on Facebook. We always have updates of what's going on. We have a winter concert series. We'll start announcing those from probably October. But follow us on Facebook. I would like to, you pointed out this is a lot of hard work. And the crew that we have here, the year-round employees, the management staff here, we have staffing that runs an OTB on a year-round basis. And when live racing comes along, their workload is 10 times what it normally is. So, I want to thank all of our staff. We invite all of our staff today to come out after the races to the beer garden, along with our customers, along with our horsemen, and have a closing day celebration with us. I'd like to especially thank our managers, our department heads, Tim, Pat, Mary, Grant, Mark, Chris, Carrie, Lisa, Brad, and every single person that helps us put this show on. And thank you for joining our team this year, Gary. I think you've done a great job, and we've worked well together to put on the best show possible. And we each year we try to change some things and perfect some things and get better. One year it's the concrete, the next year it's the Jumbotron. Each year we're going to try to get better and try to give the fans what they want. I can guarantee you that next year on Camel and Ostrich Race Day, we will be prepared for 17,000, and we live and learn, and we try to offer the fans and everyone else the best possible environment when they're out here.
All right, that's Mike Newland. The horses are heading over the paddock here. We wrap up the 2019 season. Beautiful day, Belmont Stakes Day. I think there's some exciting races on the card, just like last night. We got a mixed bag here in the opener. We've got 4 geldings, a mare, and 2 fillies, Nebraska breds, other than pot. I'll analyze that in about 5 minutes. Right now, we've got 20 minutes to post. Thanks for coming to the races, fans.